The city was alive that night, but Richard Wallace didn't notice. His jet had touched down just after sunset, and as his limousine carried him through the rain-soaked streets, his mind was fixed on one thing: home. Not the marble halls or the glittering chandeliers of his mansion, but his daughter, Emily. Emily was only 12, but in Richard's eyes, she was the brightest light in his universe. After losing his wife to a sudden illness years earlier, Emily had become the glue holding his broken heart together. He lived for her laughter, her hugs, and the innocent questions she asked about life. Every business deal, every late night, every overseas trip, he endured them for her future. When the limousine pulled through the iron gates of the Wallace estate, Richard leaned back and smiled. He wanted to surprise her, to walk in quietly and see her reaction. He imagined her running down the hall, shouting, "Daddy," as she had done since she was little. But when he entered the house, suitcase still in hand, that image shattered. The house wasn't quiet. Upstairs, faint voices echoed. Not playful, not calm. There was strain in them. He froze, listening harder. A man's voice. Deep. Urgent. And then, his daughter's. But her tone wasn't the sweet, cheerful one he knew. It was frightened. Richard's pulse spiked. Dropping his suitcase, he rushed up the stairs, his heart hammering louder with each step. His brain filled with every nightmare a father could imagine. The closer he got to Emily's room, the clearer the voices became. He heard Emily's trembling tone, "Please, don't. I didn't mean to," and then a harsh male voice, "You don't understand, girl. Stay out of this." Richard didn't think. He shoved the door open, his voice thundering through the room, "Get away from her." The sight made his blood boil. Emily stood pressed against the wall, her eyes wet with tears. Towering over her was Carl, the janitor. The man Richard had hired years ago, a quiet worker who swept floors and repaired pipes. Carl, who had never raised his voice before, now looked like a stranger. His hands shook, his face twisted with anger. Emily ran to her father's arms, sobbing. Richard wrapped her tightly, feeling her little body tremble against his chest. He glared at Carl with eyes that could burn through stone. "What are you doing in my daughter's room?" Richard's voice was low, dangerous. Carl stumbled back, hands raised as though surrendering. "Mr. Wallace, please, it's not what you think. I wasn't going to hurt her. She found something she shouldn't have." Richard's fists clenched. His instincts screamed to call security, to drag Carl out by force, but Emily clutched his sleeve. "Dad, wait." Her small, trembling voice cut through his fury. He trusted her more than anyone. So instead of exploding, he demanded, "Tell me everything. Now." Emily wiped her tears and pointed toward Carl. "I saw him in the storage room downstairs. He had a bag full of Mom's jewelry. And some papers. When I asked him about it, he got mad. He told me to leave him alone. He said I didn't understand." Richard's stomach dropped. Those weren't just trinkets, those were priceless heirlooms, reminders of his late wife. The papers Emily mentioned? They could contain sensitive business documents, the kind people would kill for. He turned on Carl like a storm. "You were stealing from me? From my family?" Carl fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "Yes. But please, let me explain. I wasn't doing it for me. My son, he's sick. He's dying, Mr. Wallace. The bills are too much. I begged for help, but nobody listened. I didn't know what else to do. The confession hung heavy in the air. Emily stopped crying and looked at him, her fear shifting into confusion. She remembered what it was like when her mother was in the hospital, how her father had sat by her bed night after night, how he would have sold everything just to have more time with her. Richard's rage wavered, but his voice was still sharp. "And so you decided to betray me? To terrify my daughter?" Carl sobbed harder. "I never meant to scare her. I swear on my life. When she saw me, I panicked. I thought, if you found out, I'd lose everything. I wasn't thinking straight." Richard paced the room, torn between anger and pity. One part of him screamed that Carl deserved punishment, that betrayal should never be forgiven. But another part, the father, the widower, the man who knew the agony of helplessness, hesitated. Emily tugged his sleeve again. Her voice was soft, but steady. "Dad. Mom wouldn't want us to hate him. She always said, people make mistakes when they're hurting." Her words pierced him like arrows. He could almost hear his late wife's voice in them. She had always believed in kindness, in giving people a chance. Richard turned back to Carl, his decision heavy in his chest. "Carl, what you did was wrong. You broke my trust. You put Emily in danger. I should call the police right now." Carl bowed his head. "Do it. I deserve it. Just, please, before they take me, let me see my son one last time." Emily's eyes filled with tears again. "Dad, don't. Please." Richard exhaled slowly. He knelt down so he was eye level with Carl. "You should have come to me. You should have asked for help. But instead, you chose this path. Still, I won't let your son pay the price for your mistakes." Carl's head shot up in disbelief. You'd help him? After everything I've done?" "Yes," Richard said firmly. "Because Emily is right. Mercy is stronger than anger. But hear me, Carl. From now on, you will live with honesty. If you betray this trust again, no forgiveness will save you. Do you understand?" Carl broke down, clutching Richard's hand. "I promise. I swear I'll never betray you again. Thank you for saving my boy." That night, Richard called his lawyers and doctors. Carl's son was moved to one of the best hospitals, his treatments fully covered by Richard's wealth. Slowly, with proper care, the boy began to recover. Carl, humbled and grateful, became the most loyal worker in the Wallace household. He no longer worked out of obligation, but out of honor for the second chance he'd been given. Emily, though still shaken by the incident, grew stronger. She had witnessed fear, betrayal, and compassion all in one night. And she had seen her father choose forgiveness when punishment would have been easier. It was a lesson she would never forget. Months later, on a sunny morning, Richard watched Emily laughing in the garden with Carl's son. The two children played freely, their laughter filling the air. Carl stood nearby, smiling with tears in his eyes. Richard realized then that this scene of healing and hope, was worth more than all the money in the world. His wife's legacy lived on, not just in Emily's smile, but in the mercy that kept families whole. What began as a nightmare, a billionaire walking in on the janitor doing the unthinkable, ended with redemption, forgiveness, and the powerful truth that compassion changes lives. Sometimes people fall not because they are evil, but because they are desperate. Punishment may correct their actions, but only compassion can heal their hearts. Forgive when you can, help when you are able, because mercy may be the greatest legacy you leave behind.